How's it going, everybody? This is Cameron White with White Light Astrology, giving you guys your November 2018 horoscope for Aquarius. So, Aquarius, to start right off, on November 6th, which is like the first event that we're having this month, we have Uranus retrograding back into Aquarius. So Uranus has been in Taurus for the past couple months, since May. He's been going into your 4th house. He's been shaking up your home life, your private life, your family. Uranus is all about liberation, breakthrough, explosions, random things happening. He has a lot to do with, he's like a wild card, basically. And as he's been in your 4th house in Taurus, you've probably seen that getting shooken up a little bit. But as he retrogrades back into Aries, this is going to be a bigger deal. Now, the 3rd house, which is going to be, or I should say the 3rd house, as he retrogrades back into Aries, he's going to go retrograde into your 3rd house. The 3rd house is all about your immediate environment. It's all about siblings. It's all about, as well as communication, verbalization, writing, speaking. And it has a lot to do with, you know, how you really use yourself, how you really use your capabilities and what you really have. And as Uranus dips back into Aries, you're probably going to find a sudden jolt or another one last push to be able to achieve a little bit more than, you know, I shouldn't say a little bit more than you want to, but being able to actually achieve what you set out to do. Uranus is going to kind of give you that good push that you need to keep moving forward. But we're going to be talking more about that as we have the Venus opposition, which is going to be at the end of the month. To move forward on the same day, November 6th, we do have the North Node, well, the nodes, I should say, moving into Cancer and Capricorn. For the purpose of this discussion, I'm just going to keep it focused on the North Node moving into Cancer, and I'll talk more about the South Node and Capricorn and everything like that. But as the North Node moves into Cancer, it's been in your 7th house in Leo for a while, where it's been, you know, you've been really wanting to focus on relationships, focus on, you know, how other people are kind of being with you, their own energy. Is it authentic? Is it giving? You know, holding space for that, for people like that. As the North Node moves into Cancer and it moves into your 6th house, this is when the focus is going to be mostly on what you're doing, your habits, your routine, your health, and things also kind of falling apart. And that sounds a little bit weird, but the North Node is, you know, it's where the eclipses are going to be at any given time, or I should say when eclipse season starts. But the North Node is very specific because it's our kind of like our soul's compass, where we want to go. It's the direction that we really want to head in. It's what we want to consume. It's what we're really hungry for, you know, using the dragon's head imagery. And as the North Node moves into Cancer, where we're talking about more emotional things, more lunar things, being able to trust, being able to nurture, being able to feel, being able to relate, being able to protect. These are all Cancer qualities, and as the North Node moves into Cancer, you're going to feel more compelled to go in that direction of, you know, being more trusting, being more emotionally invested, being more protective, and being more at home with. And this is going to be in your 6th house of your everyday routine, of your health and what's going on. The 6th house is also, you know, for your not only for your health, but for things kind of falling apart, things breaking, things not really working out. And as the North Node moves into Cancer, I think you're going to have a lot more focus on trying, like not necessarily trying, but focusing on not letting your emotions get the best of you, and really emotionally focusing on your habits, your routine, getting everything slowly together. And this is where the eclipses are going to be, but we'll talk way more about that later on. On November 7th, we have the new moon in Scorpio. This is a big deal because we've had Jupiter in Scorpio, we've had Venus retrograde in Scorpio. This has all been in your 10th house of your career, your public vocation. There's been a lot of understanding and a lot of new realizations within that, and seeing, you know, a lot of the good sides of it because Jupiter's been through there. But as Venus retrograded, you had to really, you know, kind of focus your energy and focus your value on really what you want to pursue. Now, as the new moon happens, this is kind of, I don't want to say it's clearing out all that energy at all. This is just taking in a big fresh breath of new Scorpio energy. After we've had Jupiter pass through here in this Venus retrograde, there's been a lot that you've learned. There's been a lot that you've experienced. And this new moon is kind of giving you that quick second to take a deep breath, take all of that in, and be able to move forward. So that's going to be a big deal. The next day, on November 8th, we have Jupiter ingressing into Sagittarius. So say bye-bye to Jupiter in your 10th house. Jupiter is going to go into your 11th in his domicile, where Jupiter is, you know, expansion, abundance, good fortune, great things. Jupiter wants to give you stuff. And he's going to be in Sagittarius, where he's really good at giving stuff. He loves to give you more than you expected, loves to give you exactly what you want. And as Jupiter moves into your 11th house, you're going to see this manifest in the realm of your friends and your community and who you're connected to. And if you're an Aquarius rising, you might have your midheaven in Sagittarius too. So this is, you know, kind of like doubling down on the Jupiter through your 10th house transit. Anyway, as Jupiter moves to your 11th house, you're going to see a lot more themes around your friends, around your community, and who you're really connecting to become very prominent for the next year. And we're going to talk more about that because there's a lot going on in Sagittarius this month. Moving forward the next day, there's a lot of, like, November is really much like bam, 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 bam. But the next day we have Mars trine Venus. And this is going to be really nice for you guys because Mars has been wrecking you guys, like, for this whole summer with the Mars retrograde and the eclipses. But on November 9th, as Mars is at the last final degrees of Aquarius and he makes this trine to Venus, Venus will still be retrograde, but she will be in Libra and she will be in your 9th house. Where Venus, although she'll be retrograde, she's still trying to learn exactly where she wants to put her beliefs and really where she wants to experience her value regarding things of career, because Venus retrograde in Scorpio in your 10th house. Venus will still be retrograde where you're still really looking and reevaluating yourself in the sense of, is this a healthy belief for me? Is this really what I want to pursue? In the sense of, it's Venus. Like, you really want something out there. And as Venus retrograde, it's kind of like you have to really make yourself want it to get it. And as she's still retrograde but trines Mars, Mars has been in your first house where you've been reshaping yourself. You've been kind of like, you know, for one, Mars has been on your ascendant, so you've been a little bit frustrated. You've been a little bit mad. But Mars is really trying to help you set up these healthy boundaries, have a better, I don't want to say a belief about yourself because that's not necessarily it. Aquarius is about disassociation, disconnection, because it's also about connecting. It has a lot to do with exiling and alienating. And as Mars has been here in your first house, you've been really struggling with detaching yourself from, you know, I don't want to say a negative point of view of yourself, but a very Saturnian way that doesn't always help. But as Mars has been moving forward and he's getting ready to get out of your first house, he's really trying to help you be constructive about how can you connect yourself? How can you be more of that Aquarius rising that you are, or Aquarius sun? And as he trines Venus, this is going to be a big deal because Venus is wanting you to believe all these better things about yourself, especially with what you're capable of doing in terms of your career. And as Venus is retrograde, where you're still learning about this, Mars is kind of giving you that push to put yourself out there a little bit more in a more understandable way, in a more effective way. Then on November 14th, we have Mercury squaring Neptune as it's starting to station. That is going to be a little bit of a bigger deal because Neptune's been in your second house where, you know, it's not really the biggest thing to look at. But as Mercury begins to station retrograde squaring Neptune, this may be a bigger thing to look at. Mercury's going to go retrograde in Sagittarius in your 11th house, which is kind of like, what are you communicating with your friends? Where are you really trying to take yourself? It's like all this good community stuff's happening, but you got to really give yourself some direction, and it could be a lot, and it could overwhelm you. As it squares Neptune, where Neptune's in your second house as far as money and resources, it's kind of just like, you know, Neptune just puts a very thin layer of fog over it. As Mercury squares Neptune, this is going to be kind of a big look at, okay, what do I have to bring to these people? What do I have to, you know, connect myself with these people with? And what do these people have to really help me and establish myself and give me things that I need? If that makes sense. November 16th, we have Venus going direct in your 9th house in Libra. This is going to be a really good time to, you know, really just explore yourself in terms of being able to relate to people, being able to really work with people the way that you want to. The 9th house is all about spirituality, philosophy. It's all about far distance travel, foreign things. It's a very fun house, but it's also the 3rd house away from the 7th. So it has a lot to do with how other people in your life and what they kind of do. So as Venus goes direct in Libra, you're going to kind of have this way more confidence of going about things. So this is going to be very, very positive. The same day, Mars gets out of your first house, thank God, he's been there forever, and he goes into your second house of Pisces, or he goes into Pisces, which is going to be going into your second house. So as Mars enters Pisces, Mars is this warrior. He wants to do, he wants to conquer, he wants to achieve. And when he goes into Pisces, he gets a little bit lost. He gets a little bit confused. It's instead of him having clear direction and clear action to take, it's kind of like, you know, someone puts a bunch of psychology on him and makes him question his whole existence. So while Mars is in Pisces, he's really trying to figure out, okay, you know, is this what I want to pursue? Why am I even fighting? Why am I even going this way? And this is going to be in your second house of money, of resources, of possessions, and everything like that. So as Mars goes into Pisces and he goes into your second house, this is going to be a big deal to really look at, okay, what do I have, and really where do I want to, like, how do I really want to use it? What do I have that I can bring to other people? Because later on November 19th, we have Mars squaring Jupiter. So while Jupiter is in your 11th house, friendships are looking good, community's looking good, you're starting to get everything together, Mars is going to square Jupiter where you may not have everything that you need in order to keep going. It's kind of like you have all of these friends that are doing everything, but it's like, oh, I don't have the money for that, or oh, I don't have the time for that. Mars in Pisces just asks you to really get out of your comfort zone and look at things outside of the box in order for you to I don't want to say get exactly what you want, but in your second house of valuables, of possessions, of money, and while Mars is right here where he wants to sever, he wants to cut, this is Pisces where this is about illusion and fantasy and spirituality and dreams and duality. Mars is kind of making, you know, this whole possession issue kind of more prevalent, and as it squares Jupiter, you're going to be wanting to be more, you're going to be more called out to connect to more people, to be with more people, explore with other people. You just have to look at, okay, what do I have to let go of in order to keep pursuing that? On November 17th, we have Mercury going retrograde. So while all of this community and friend stuff is really starting to get picked up, Mercury is in Sagittarius where he's in his detriment. He gets very overwhelmed very easily. And as he goes retrograde, it's kind of like he has this, he has a lot of opportunity to take a big direction, but it's kind of like, don't get ahead of yourself to go on a road trip. Like, make sure you packed all your bags, make sure you packed, you know, an extra pair of socks and underwear and stuff like that. Mercury is just kind of going to go retrograde and go, okay, this is all great, but where do I want to take this? Let's not get overwhelmed with this. Let's not go too far with this. So as Mercury retrogrades, it's like, yeah, you're going to have a lot more stuff going on in your community and in your world, but just slow down and make sure you're heading in the direction that you want to, because it's going to be very easy to get excited and overwhelmed with it. So just take it at your own pace. Then on November 22nd, we have the sun going into Sagittarius, where the sun is just the light, it's just the focus of the solar system, where all the planets are rotating around. And this is going to be in your 11th house. So the whole theme of friendships and community and philanthropy and stuff like that is just going to be lit up. That's what the main focus is really going to be at, and that's just where the energy really is. But on the same day, on November 22nd, we have the full moon in Gemini, which this is when it gets interesting for you, because as we have the sun going into Sagittarius, it's all about, you know, connecting yourself to people for a bigger cause and for, you know, some type of philanthropic type deal. As the full moon in Gemini happens, this full moon is going to be in your 5th house. The 5th house is all about what you want to create, what you love. It's all about sex, music, creation, children, art. It's very much a personal house with what you want to do with. As the moon comes into play, a full moon is just lighting up what we always do, like what we don't always see. It lights up the unconscious. It brings an emotional awareness to things. And this is going to be in Gemini, where this is a Mercury-ruled sign. And Gemini is all about information, facts, like, you know, spreading messages right then and there, boom. And as the full moon in Gemini happens in your 5th house, even though you're going to be more connected to your friends and your community, you're going to have more of a realization of, okay, what do I really want to pursue within this context, and where do I want to take myself? And you're going to have all of the options laid out for you. You're going to be able to pick and choose whatever you want. Don't get too overwhelmed with it, but this full moon is going to give you the realization that, like, what you need to pursue, or I shouldn't say what you need, what you want to pursue within that context. Then right after that, on November 25th, on November 25th, we have the Sun-Jupiter conjunction. This is setting, I don't want to say setting the new intentions, but starting the new cycle of Jupiter and Sagittarius, where Jupiter is wanting to bring you gifts, he's wanting to bring abundance and good fortune, and he's in Sagittarius of his home sign in your 11th house, so your friends are going to be doing good, you're going to feel more connected to people in that way. And the Sun-Jupiter conjunction is just kind of like, boom, this is when it starts to begin. And the Sun-Jupiter conjunction will last for 2 days. It starts at 3 degrees Sag, they will move both at 4 degrees Sag, and then it ends. And so this is just going to be a good time to really bring awareness to what you have, who you're connected to, and what you kind of bring to the table with that. Now, after that, on November 27th, we have the Sun-Mercury conjunction, where Mercury is retrograde, and Mercury's going to go Cazimi. Now, with Mercury being retrograde in Sagittarius, this is you kind of, you know, you could feel a little bit overwhelmed with everything. It's a lot to take on with everything that's going on with your friends and your community and stuff like that. Mercury is, when he goes Cazimi, he gets all that information from the sun and he feels it. It's kind of like realizing, okay, what did you forget? What did you, you know, it's kind of like you took off on a road trip, realized you forgot something, and then you get back to your house and you're like, okay, this is what I forgot. This is what I need to grab. And then you're going to feel a little bit more confident going forward, because as Mercury hits the sun, immediately after it will conjunct Jupiter, where it's kind of like, oh man, I'm so glad I retraced my steps and went back home for this thing, because I totally forgot about this other thing I needed to grab, and it's super, super cool, and it's going to work out totally perfect for what I want to do. The biggest thing with that is, as you get more pulled and more called out to grow and expand in that area of friends and stuff, just be sure and be clear of where you're going with it and where you're taking with it. Don't get overwhelmed with it. Don't get ahead of yourself with it. Just retrace your steps. Make sure you cross all your T's, dot all your I's. You double packed everything, and you'll be good to go. Especially as Mercury conjuncts Jupiter, where Jupiter's like, sweet, you didn't forget that. You have all the information that you need. Let's keep moving forward. Then, last but not least, we have on November 30th, Mercury retrograding back into Scorpio, where Mercury in Scorpio is kind of like, detailed. Not so much detailed like Virgo, but focused. I was actually having this conversation last night. Aries is kind of like the general, the Marine that goes into battle and kills everybody. Scorpio is kind of like the sniper that will sit on a ledge for 3 days straight waiting for a shot. That's the dedication. That's the aim. That's Scorpio. It's just sitting there waiting for the right time to get the right shot. And as Mercury goes into Scorpio, and it's still retrograde, this is you kind of going, okay, I understand my presence in this world, because this is the 10th house. You understand what you're doing, how you kind of come off, where you excel at, and Mercury is just making sure you understand and you are very clear and you're dedicated to what you know, that how you represent yourself, how you come about in this world, and making sure that you're clear about that stuff so you can move forward and bring that clarity and that aim and that precision to your friends. Also on November 30th, the last day of November, we have the Venus-Uranus opposition at 29 Aries and 29 Libra. So with Uranus being in your third house, of doing stuff, of people close to you, of your siblings and whatnot, and communication, Uranus is charging you up right here where you're kind of ready to go boom. And Venus is in your 9th house, where it's really about your self-belief. And this is kind of like taking yourself to that next level of having that energy to move forward and have that explosive energy to do something. But it's not going to be so much of a wrecking ball like Aries and Uranus can kind of be. Venus and Libra is kind of like, okay, how can you go about this in a graceful manner? What do you believe about yourself, and how can you really, work with the people around you to take that energy and make it a very gracious Libra, nice thing. And that last day is going to be kind of, it's going to be kind of a realization, because the 3rd and the 9th house is a lot of thinking, a lot of personal stuff. So it is going to be a big realization of your own power and what you can do, as long as you have that healthy belief about yourself. And that's November. So it's going to be a fun month for you guys, because Mars is finally out of your first house. So with that being said, thank you guys so much for watching, liking, commenting, and subscribing, and sharing. And I'll be seeing you guys for next month's horoscopes.